Hello, 6th grade. Welcome to lesson day 6, distributive property. Our learning objective is 6-7D. So let's start by discussing what is the distributive property. Well, I'm sure you're aware of distribution centers, or what it means to distribute means that you are handing out, you are giving away. And so in math, it means we're going to take a number and we're going to distribute it to the remaining numbers. And you can do this with addition or subtraction. So for example, if you have 20 times 10, you have been taught that means that it's going to give you a product of 200. Let's redistribute the 20. We're going to do 20 times 3. Or I'm sorry, let's add. We're going to add 10, or 3 plus 7, which, hello 6th grade, welcome to day 6 lesson, distributive property. Our learning objective is 6-7D. So first let's discuss the distributive property of addition. When multiplying a number by the sum of the two add-ins, so that's just the sum of the two numbers, it is equivalent to multiplying each add-in individually by the number. So let's break that down. You know that 20 times 10 is going to be 200. If you take 20 times parentheses 3 plus 7, you've been taught with the order of operations that you add 3 and 7. That is the sum of the add-ins. And then multiply it by what's outside of the parentheses, and it'll again give you a product of 200. But let's break this down so we can see another example of an equivalent expression. You can separately multiply 20 times 3, which will give you 60, and 20 times 7, which will give you 140. And then the addition, if you add 60 plus 40, that gives you your 200. So in all of these instances, with addition, the order of addition and subtraction doesn't matter. So for all of these instances, they're going to have equivalent answers of 200. So now, let's test another example of this. You know that 2 times 10 is going to give you 20. Times 2 plus 20 times 5. They are going to be equivalent expressions to each other. And please either highlight or circle what makes that true is that if you know that any number whose sum is 10 is going to be equivalent to the 20. And so, let me see, we can do 2 plus 8. We can do 5, let's use a different color. We can do 5 plus 5, because those are different sums, and they are all going to give you a different product of 20. So, now let's look at this algebraically. If you have A, open parentheses, B plus C, close parentheses, that is going to be the same as A times B plus A times C. And let's practice that with the numbers. You're going to take the 5, which is on the outside of the parentheses, and you are going to distribute it to the x, so you have 5 times x, and then distribute it to the 8, so you'll have 5 times 8. Now we do not know what x is, so you're not able to find a perfect number for that, so we're going to leave that as 5x. You do know the product of 5 times 8 is 40, so you can write a number, a constant for the 40. Okay, now let's look at the distributive property with subtraction. When multiplying a number by the difference of two other numbers, that is equivalent to individually multiplying each of the two numbers by the original and subtracting the product. So, much like we started the first one, you know that 2 times 10 is going to give you 200. 2 times 12 subtract 2 will also give you 200 because 12 subtract 2 is 10. Now if you break that up and multiply it individually, 20 times 12 will give you 240. 20 times 2 will give you 40. When you subtract those, you once again get a difference of 200. So they are all equivalent expressions. Similarly to what we did with addition, we are going to find any numbers whose difference is 10 are going to be valid answers to put in this box. So we can, instead of doing 12 subtract 2 like we did earlier, we can do 14 and 4. Because 14 subtract 4 will give you 10. So there's an example of that. So anything that's difference is going to equal 10 are numbers that would make this true. Now let's look at this algebraically. Just like we did with addition, you are going to distribute the letter or the number on the outside of the parentheses to everything in the parentheses separately. So A times B, carry your subtraction sign, because we are subtracting for this expression, this equation, and then distribute the A times C. So A times B subtract AC is equivalent. And I want you to please box this clue right here. You are going to multiply the number outside the parentheses to all terms in the parentheses. And here's an example of it with numbers. And once again, just like with addition, you don't know what x is, so you're going to leave that 5x. But you do know that the product of 5 and 8 is 40. Okay, we're going to go down to the bottom half of your notes and practice some problems. Okay, we're going to use the distributive property to write equivalent expressions. So we are going to take the number that is on the outside of the parentheses and multiply it by everything in the parentheses individually or separately. So we're going to have 3 times x plus 3 times 9. We do not know what the 3x is, so we simply just take the dot out and write it as a coefficient variable, so the 3x. And then we do know that 9 times 3 is 27. So you are going to have a simplified expression of 3x plus 27. That is your answer. That's as small as it can get. When you have a number next to the parentheses, that means multiplication. You can also have a dot next to the parentheses. That will still mean multiplication. Okay, so I'm going to do one more problem with you, and I'm going to have you work a few on your own. We have 8 times 3x plus 8. We are going to distribute the 8 by everything in the parentheses. So we are going to have 8 times 3 times x plus 8 times 8. 8 times 3 is going to give you 24. And 8 times 8 is 64. So your complete simplified answer is 24x plus 64. Now I would like for you to please practice these next two problems in the middle of the paper. You are going to do the 9 times 7y minus 6 and 7 times 4 minus 3x. When you are done completing the problem, you may resume the video to check your work, but pause the video now. Pause the video. Okay, you should have gotten a simplified answer of 63y, subtract 54. On the second problem, you should have had a finished answer of 28, subtract 21x. You could have also written it as negative 21x plus 28. You could have also written it that way. Either way will be correct. Okay, now this problem here, the 7 plus q in the parentheses is written a little bit backwards, but you're still distributing 6 by everything in the parentheses. I would like for you to work these two problems next. After you've completed the work and shown your work, you may resume the video to check your answers, but pause the video now. Okay, for the first problem, you should have distributed 6 times 7 and gotten 42, and then 6 times q and gotten 6q. Similarly to the other problem we just did, you can write it as the 6q first plus 42. You can write it either way and it'll be an equivalent expression. On the second problem over here, you would have distributed the 12 and multiplied everything in the parentheses and ended up with a simplified answer of 12r minus 30. So here are the last two examples on the notes. I'm going to go ahead and give you these answers. Pause the video if you need more time to work through them. Otherwise, that concludes this lesson. I'd like for you to please do homework 6, and as always, if you have any questions or need further instruction, I'm always here to help you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.